Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. This week's first impression is a limited edition special. Yes, hello and welcome to this week's first impression. It's a limited edition, quite literally, because you can only get this box of 2 kits if you join the Airfix Club in 2024. So what you get is 2 kits, a Typhoon and a Spitfire in the markings you see above, and we're going to have a look at them right now. So, like I say, the only way you're getting hold of these is if you join the Airfix Club. You can go onto the Airfix website. It's £35 in the UK to join. And I do have a separate video on the Airfix Club, what you get and how to work out whether it's worth it for you or not. What we're going to do in this video, though, is focus on the kits, get a view of them, see what we think. So what we've got in the box is 2 kits, and I'm going to have a look at both of them in this video. So it's a D-Day duo, so they're both in D-Day markings. The kit number is A73016, and both the aircraft in here are 1:72 scale. So we have a Hawker Typhoon Mark 1B from number 245, Northern Rhodesian Squadron, Royal Air Force, Holmesley South, Hampshire, England in 1944. So a traditional camouflage scheme with the D-Day stripes. And then we have the Spitfire PR, whatever that is in Roman numerals, number 541 Squadron, Royal Air Force, Benson, Oxfordshire, England, 1944. And this is in an all-over blue scheme. And I guess it's got the camera in because we've got the little clear part for that. And if we look here, it gives us, as per usual, our 2 paints, which is one option for each aircraft, and it lists our paints there. Tells us that they're a skill level 1. The ends of the box repeat what's on the front, and then if we look here, we can see we've got cartograph decals in, and that the Spitfire was tooled in 2009 and that the Typhoon was tooled in 2013, and the decals are 2023, ready for this year's club. So all good and nice. You don't get flying hours on a members club. So as we open the box, first thing we can see is we've got these in the new hard dark grey plastic, and we've got 2 bags, one for each kit, so you can build them independently. You don't have to worry about opening one bag and you've got 2 kits in there. So it's easy to identify which is which. The Spitfire is the bag with less sprues. The older tooling has less parts than the new tooling. Look at that on the Typhoon in 172. And then we have our instructions, which is one set of instructions covering both the builds. And then we have decals, which I'm going to say are in the old format, because you don't often see this anymore, but maybe because there's 2 kits. We've got the Spitfire in one, and then we've got the Typhoon in the other. And interestingly, it says common at the top, which is a bit of a surprise because there's actually only one paint scheme, so surely all of the decals are for it. But yeah, there we go. We have all the decals. We'll have a proper look at that in a minute. What I would want to say before we look at the instructions is that these kits, if you were to buy them separately, would cost you typically £11.99 each. So you've got here £24 worth of kits, easy, if you were to buy them independently. So if these are 2 kits that you would want to buy anyway. If you think about them as being 24 quid's worth, then you know you're not that far off the membership fee already, and that's a lot less that you've got to then make back on your 10% discount. Right, shall we have a look at the Spitfire first? Let's have a look at our instructions then. So our instructions are the familiar format. We have specifications here for the Typhoon first. Yeah, that's all. Right, what they've done is in each language, Typhoon, then Spitfire. I hadn't noticed that. So English, Typhoon and Spitfire, a bit of history, and then in multiple languages. Then we've got our assembly key, the familiar Airfix one, and some assembly instructions. And then we are kicking off with the Typhoon. Let's make sure all that's in shot. Yeah, so these are quite familiar to me because my daughter has built the Typhoon and she really enjoyed it actually. So much so that I thought, oh, I should get a Typhoon, which I then later did. So I think this is my third Typhoon in the collection at 172. So we start with the cockpit with the seat, then we're building up the dials, and then we're mounting them into the side of the fuselage there. So we've got some painting to do on the fuselage. The tail wheel goes in. We can have that in two positions, up or down, which is cool. My daughter put it on a display stand, so she had landing gear up. Then we're putting the pedals and the control stick onto the base, which also forms the landing gear bays. You can see them on either side there. Then we've got the air intake at the front going in, which we can see there. Pilot being added, and then we've got options for open and closed outlet on the air scoop. Then we're adding the exhaust, which I wouldn't do at that stage. I'd be the last thing I add actually, along with the propellers once we've painted everything else. Then we're putting the tail together. Then the underwings in a single piece go in, and we have a clear part going in, but also note there is some options for drilling out depending on what ordnance you're putting in. We also have the option to cut out the wings to show what's inside. So you've got the guns and the munitions all molded into one piece, but you can pick those out with different colours. So that's quite cool. Then you've got landing gear going in, pitot tube. The wheels are hubs molded in, and then the other half of the tyre goes on top. And we can see that we've got weighted wheels there, and then it seems to say option on that, so don't know why that's an option. I'm guessing it means it's an option to have the wheels down, but right, yeah, I think it's landing gear down is an option, or you can miss out step 12 and 13, go straight to 14 and do the wheels up. Then in step 15 we're putting on the pylons for the various ordnance and drop tanks and bits and pieces like that. Then we've got in step 16 we've got options there for rockets and bombs. Step 17 we're building up the spinner, and that's mounted in such a way as it should be free turning. And then in the last step we're adding the canopy. So yeah, all very nice, straightforward, nice and clear. And then we have the paint instructions for the Typhoon. And as you can see, all of those red blocks are decals. So we've got plenty of decals in there. Very, very nice. Including our little white strips there. So all the stripes are on there. So yeah, that all looks good. Nice little build, I think. So that should then take us on to our Spitfire. Now, the Spitfire, being 4 years older, is definitely going to show its age in comparison to the Typhoon, and we can already tell that through the instruction layout, which seems simpler. So we've got a pilot with separate arms, which is a nice touch. If you don't want to use the pilot, you've got a really nice pilot for another day. And we focus on the pilot first. Then we've got a simplified construction, a very simple seat mounted on the back wall, control stick, decal for the dials, painting it all in the interior green pretty much, except for that armoured backplate there. Then we're building up the spinner, and we're having to do that because of the way it gets mounted into this. Now, if you play it carefully, you can glue that into the inside of that edge there, then take that off, and you don't have to worry about trying to paint everything with the propeller in. They wouldn't do it that way now, but that's how they've done it there. So we've got our little cockpit tub going in, bulkhead, the camera glazing going in, and the propeller. Then we've got a single piece lower wing with upper wings that go over the top. We've got little location pins, so we need to look for any pull there and any sink as a result. We've got a clear part going in as well. No instructions on cleaning on colours to paint behind that though. And then if you want the landing gear up, you're installing those from the inside, which I'm not sure I've seen before. Then step 6, we're putting the tail in, shows us the geometry, has to be 90 degrees. We've got a single piece canopy, so no option to have it open. And then they are putting the wings on, and finally the exhausts, as it should be. So what's that? 6 steps. Step 7, we've got a simplified landing gear, wheels going on, they're all moulded in one. No weights on that by the looks of it. 2-part air scoop going in. Then you've got option on wheel up, wheel down for the tail. And again, they're giving you geometry, which is good. Pitot tube, air scoops, tail wheel, and landing gear going in, and that's it. You're pretty much done. It does give you the angle of the wheels, tells you that they should be 90 degrees, and therefore you should have camber on the wheels there. And then we have the paint instructions. So all over Prue Blue, which is Humbrol 230, they're saying. I'm not sure I've got that blue. You can see there's a lot less decals on this, but you've got all the major markings, anti-slip, and 1 or 2 stencils as well, including a nice set of markings for the propeller. So it should still look really quite nice. But to double check that, we need to check out the plastic. So let's have a look at the decals closely first. So the decals, I think because the cartograph look really nice, they don't feel thick. There's no excessive film, and like in the R's there is no film in the middle of the R, for example, or the point either side of the M, just for spacing. So you've got much less risk of silvering. They're really, really nicely done. They're a lovely set of decals, so I have no issues with the decals. Now, I've looked at 1 or 2 kits where originally they came out in the old Airfix plastic that everyone complained was a bit soft. And my view is that the soft moulding that we sort of got used to with Airfix crispens up when it's in the harder plastic. So if you built this back in 2009 when it came out, and you thought, you know what, this is all a bit soft moulded, now's the time to revisit it, because this is nice and crisp. Yeah, no real issues with this in terms of crispness of the moulding. There's no flash. I'm not seeing any sink. Yeah, very, very nice. Let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. So we've got the two fuselage halves here, and what looks like a blanking plate for the camera area there. I think that's what that is. You can see we've got panel lines on there which are you know, arguably oversized, and I can see where this pin is, we've got a little bit of sink, and it's right on a panel line, so need a little bit of work to sort that out. But otherwise it's nice. We've got some rivet detail, again probably oversized above the exhaust there, but it's nice and crisp. I don't see any sink on this other half, so yeah, that's okay. When we look at the lower wings, again, all your panel lines are oversized, are a bit wide, and yeah, just didn't quite have the finesse that they've got now back in that day. But yeah, we've got some nice details. There's no rivet detail or anything like that on there, just the major panels and hatches. Yeah, and these lumps, I guess, should form the grills for the air scoops. So, oh no, they're just the locating points. So if we have a look at the top wings now, again, same as the lower ones, I don't see any issues. We've not got any imperfections or anything like that. No flash, no sink. No, definitely no sink. It's just the mix of the plastic. Yeah. And again, slightly oversized panels, but nothing to worry about too much. So they should sit on there quite nicely. You don't have to worry about edges too much, because they've got this sort of overhang here, so you're not going to have pointy tips that you've got to try and line up or anything like that. So that's nice. Yeah, that's okay. And then this final sprue here, we've got the air intakes, which actually have the mesh printed on the inside for the air scoop, so that's nice. Landing gear molded into its covers there, which has given them a little bit of sink, but it's a minor issue to sort. And painted up, they'll look okay. It's not as good as having them separate, which is how they do it now. And then you've got the wheels molded in for the up version, which again are okay. Two different types of wheels, so be careful that you put the right one on. But you can see the hub is simplified with the wheels up, and you don't get that. You don't really get a good view of that. Bulkhead there, fairly simple, and that one's just blank, so that's very, very simple. Spinner looks okay, but the sprue gates are on the outside, so some careful removal and clean up. Tail's got some nice raised detail on there. Might be overdone a little bit though, I suspect. Just a bit of a gentle sand down just to lessen it. And then we've got this really nice pilot who looks really quite cool with his separate arms, but he has no feet, so I guess they couldn't fit him in somehow. Yep, and then the exhausts are quite nicely done. Connection points on the blades, which is a bit horrid, but it is what it is, and a very simplified seat. But if you're going to put the pilot in, you're not going to see it really, so I'm not too fussed about that either. There we go. So I'll take some photos and you can have a bit of a look. I forgot to mention the clear parts. We've got the little camera window there, which is actually quite nicely done. And then we've got the two lamps. I'm not sure in my own mind whether they're distorted and twisted or not. We'll see when we come to fit them. And then the single piece canopy, which is well depicted. Has a bit of distortion, but nothing too bad actually, and is very, very clear. So we'll get them back in their protective bag. Nothing wrong with the clear parts. So the Typhoon is probably familiar to some of you, with it being a more recent release. I'm sure a number of you have probably even built it. So we've got 4 sprues here. And instantly I'm already starting to see the difference, and it's a good way of showing you how far Airfix travelled in a short time. And of course they've continued on that trajectory since this was tooled in 2013, so you know this is 10 years old now. But we can see already, compared to the Spitfire, the panel lines are better. We've got more detail on here. We've got little tiny rivet detail. Panel lines are nowhere near as wide as they were on that Spitfire. We've got no sprue gates on the propellers there, so that's really nice. Cleanup's nice and easy. We've got better texturing on the tail. That's really cool. We've got separate covers on the landing gear, which is really nice. And then look at the detail you've got in the gear bay. Even though we've got a couple of ejector pins in there, they're quite hidden. I'd still go in and remove them, but they are quite hidden, especially if you're going to have the wheels up. Then we've got the ordnance on there, which has got some nice detail on. And there's nice detail on the inside of the cockpit. I think we will not see those ejector pin marks. So yeah, very nice. And then as we have a look here, again, more detail on that upper wing. We've got all sorts of raised and recessed detail. The panel lines look nice. Yeah, they do look nice, and it's all nice and crisp. I don't see any sink. Pylons are nicely done, very crisply moulded. And then we've got the tail there. And just like the Spitfire, we haven't got options of moving the flaps. They're all moulded into place, but they're nicely done. And those are if you're having the landing gear up. So again, nicely done. In fact, you might even want to score the channel lines a little bit on those. Then we've got fuselage, the other fuselage half, again with nice interior detail. We've got the exhausts, which are nicely done. The landing gear, much more finesse than we saw in that Spitfire. They're separate and they're quite thin. The pilot, not as good as the Spitfire actually. His arms are moulded in for a start, and he is a bit soft moulded, and you always get that a little bit with the figures. But yeah, and the sprue gates are still on the outside of the spinner. Then we've got some controls moulded in where the dials are going to go. So that's a nice little additional detail. And then we can see these ammunition positions and the guns there. And don't they look cool? So they'll mount in the wing, and you can paint all that up separately, pop it in. So that's really cool. And then I'm not quite sure what they are. Are they for inside the... Is that if you have the... I think that is if you want to have the wings open. So if you decide that you're carving out where these go, which is sort of this section here, yeah. So you could then mount them on the wing like so to show them in the open position. So that's the inside of the wing surface that you see in there. So that's really cool, nicely done. Yeah, and then on this last one we've got the lower wing. Again, lots of really nice detail. We've got the rockets, which are nicely done as well, and just a bit of seam clean up on them. We've got the tail wheel, which is a little simplified, but okay, all moulded in one wheel and fitting. Pitot tube there, and the back end of some of the ordnance, the fins, compass and pylons, and that's part of the spinner assembly, and that is your the bulkhead that the seat gets mounted on. So very nice. We can see our little depressions there for where we might want to drill through, which is clearly done. And then we've got the air vent, which has got some really nice texturing on. Very, very nice detail. So yeah, all in all, really nice. There's no issues with flash. I didn't see any sink. Lovely. Head and shoulders above that Spitfire we just saw. So given that they'd both retail for the same price, you can certainly see the difference. Even this was moulded just 4 years later. And finally, the clear parts. Mine unfortunately have a scuff on the top, which is annoying. That's been done in the factory before it went in the bag. Again, quality control. The constant letdown for Airfix is its quality control. It needs sorting. Then we've got otherwise really nice clear parts. We can polish that out. That shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to just buff that out. Let's have a go, shall we? There you go, that's gone. Simple as that. So, annoying as it might be to see it, it's easy to get rid of it. So yeah, there we have it. Very nice, those, actually. And we have the advantage of being able to open the canopy on this one, unlike the Spitfire. So last year we got a very new toolkit with a variation that hadn't gone to market yet, although it's coming to market this year. This year we've got older kits, but we've got two of them. So if you are going to be joining the Airfix Club during 2024, this is the kit you'll get, or the kits I should say. They're not too bad. They should be a lot of fun. Each one's probably a weekend project. You could probably build them side by side over a couple of weekends, gluing and painting and what have you, and end up with two quite fun little builds. And you can see how far Airfix travel across those two builds in just 4 years. And that was before we got to where we are now. So very nice. It's nice to see them in the new plastic. I think that probably adds to them a little bit. Very interesting schemes. I think it's a nice set of aircraft for celebrating the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So there you have it. That's what you get in the Airfix Club. It's a limited edition. You can only get it if you join. Unless one or two members decide they don't want the kits and they put them on eBay for silly money, which you sometimes see. Thanks for looking in. You enjoy your modelling, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.